Is everything live?
Everything's live now.
Okay. All right, well, I'm then just going to get right into it, right? Because this is super concerning, I think, in terms of what we want to achieve. So we discussed a statistic that really caught us off guard, I think, this morning. And it's a listing of the top 20 social media usage per country in the world. And it was extremely interesting, the fact that on that list of 20, South Africa is ranking third with an average social media usage per day of around about 3 hours and 40 minutes, with the Philippines and Colombia being first and second, obviously also both being two third world / emerging market countries. In comparison to that, the US is sitting pretty at 17th. On an average of around about 2 hours and 10, 2 hours and 14 minutes. So we thought this is something to really dig into in terms of South Africans actually really becoming aware of this and then sort of taking a view as to how do we actually start being productive as opposed to quote unquote wasting time on social media. So Dano,
and obviously it's super concerning.
It's crazy.
To think that the average South African spent more than 3 hours on their social media.
That's almost 4 hours a day.
Yeah. Well,
if your work day is 8 hours, let's say your work day is 10 hours, 40% of that is spent on social media.
No, it's shocking.
That's nuts.
And for me, it's a thing of people sometimes, I think, don't understand the difference between, or they think they do, but they don't understand the difference between, scrolling on social media, trying to figure out what to do, and actually using the platform for your benefit, for your company, or so on. So a lot of guys that actually we worked with would work on a project, but then they'll get almost in the rabbit hole of start scrolling.
Exactly.
So they'll go onto social media for one point, or to figure something out regarding their, some topic or whatever. But when they get themselves, they're scrolling.
100%.
And that's shocking for me, specifically for our country, and specifically what we want to drive on a social media platform, is to get a sort of an education, and not to say education like a LinkedIn Learning or something, but to bring perspective through social media to our viewers, and obviously the ones that will come. But to bring the perspective to it from a South African side.
Yes.
And that's concerning for me that South African it's almost 4 hours.
Listen, and I mean, it's because it hooks you, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's countless studies, and we must just share the statistic, in the write-up. But there's countless studies, that talks about the fact that people so easily get hooked on this because of the endorphin release, right? So it sort of plays on the concept of how do you feel, right? So obviously people get stressed and there's anxiety and there's all of these challenges, right? So it's easy to grab your phone, hop onto whatever social platform it is that you want to just get that endorphin kick, but the problem is it's almost like you get hooked to it, right? So now it starts digging into your productivity because you want to feel better, and you sort of dive down that rabbit hole as opposed to actually being productive. And ultimately, and I think this is sort of one of our key points, right, is that if you were to do that without being aware of it, right, let's say for just even a year, or for 2 years, let's go further, let's say 5 years, 5 consecutive years, that's your play, right? Between 20 and 30% of your day you spend on social media. Imagine what you could have done if you were productive for that 30%.
Or take 1 hour away from that and start learning yourself or educate yourself on a certain point that you want to get good at.
Exactly.
Because it's shown, obviously, if the stat shows that it's around 3 hours, and it's so like a little bit controversial because a lot of people complain they don't have time.
Well,
but then the stats come out. There's almost 4 hours a day. But let me specifically my journey on social media. So 2013, I think I deleted my social accounts, all my social accounts, because then I didn't have any useful social accounts in business. There wasn't that time, and I quickly saw that this thing's gonna either, it's taking away, and obviously specifically for me, because of my mindset, it was around, between 2012 and 2013. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was 2012, 2013. And I deleted all my accounts. And reason being is I saw that I have this vision of what I wanted to build, And the more time I spend on social media, the quicker I wanted to get things because of the message that social media or let's say my friends or the people that I watch constantly. So for instance, to give you an example, I had this goal of, getting to a certain place in 10 years time. That's now. So, but back in the day, now I see this friend of mine, he's, let's say, at a certain point. So it's just human. You start comparing. Listen, but yes, I'm not there yet. But I needed to go through that journey. Thank God I had a mentor that said to me, listen, go get the distractions out of your life. And luckily, I could have made this decision quickly.
Well, start with the biggest distraction, right?
So one of my biggest distractions by far was social media. And I saw this is going to derail me from, the vision that I had, it's going to derail me from my vision. So I got rid of all my social media. And only, I think, our, obviously, head of one of the media companies, literally we traveled together and he took my phone and literally downloaded Instagram again. I think it was last year somewhere.
Since you're getting old.
He downloaded Instagram for myself, and well, obviously I'm back now on social media, but the thing is now it's a platform for us to use because now there's a link. It's no longer distraction. I did what I needed to do in the past 10 years. But if I had social media, and I'm 100% sure, if I had social media in there, I would have not been so loyal to the goals that I put in place for myself.
Yes.
Because of social media distracting me and maybe other people excelling a little bit faster than what I did, maybe. But it was definitely a distraction for me. So, and that's something that I think people don't usually, they're not honest with themselves with that. And not to say that social media are a distraction for everybody, that's my case.
Yes.
But to be, listen, if you are 3 hours on social media, more than 3 hours on social media every single day.
Sure.
And that's not, let's say, a place where you can market either your businesses or actually use it actively to market your businesses. Yes, I think people need to double check their time.
Well, and I think to be fair, right, that's a bit of an intricacy that's in the statistic most probably, and we can sort of get that detail and also just put it in the write-up. But surely, obviously, I think people are obviously doing business on social media, so there is an element of that. And then there's obviously the educational portion, right? And I think we have discussed this, that if it's from an educational perspective, then sure, spend time on there, because the reality is that everybody knows that, you really need to, in this day and age, get your skills leveled up and really become knowledgeable, with all of the different technologies and all of the new information that's actually coming out into the market with regards to any industry. But the key point here is, and you mentioned it, is that we don't think that people are really being honest with themselves in terms of why they're spending the time on social media, right? If you're obviously doing it from the perspective of you want to get educated on a topic or you want to gain more knowledge on a topic, here's the question, right? How much time did you spend on the topic on social media yesterday? And how much of that do you actually remember? Just do that as a test. Because I think a lot of people will quickly come to the knowledge of the fact that they get caught in the entertainment trap. They think they're learning, but they're not really learning.
Algorithms are built in a certain way to hook you in certain, not to say rabbit holes, but in certain,
of course,
threads of a certain, entertainment aspect in, social media or threads or shorts and all these stuff.
Yes.
So the thing is, and I think that's a super cool way to actually judge yourself and to be honest with yourself and to stop yourself in that. And there's a funny thing that one of my friends sent me is this oaks that they actually working on programs to stop people, from, scrolling and all these things. So that's funny, but but it's almost like getting, people that's got an alcohol addiction or something, all of that ads that will pop up for them. Now, people that's scrolling a lot, that there's literally ads popping up to get you out of that, what do you call it? The threat or whatever. But the thing for me is people need to be honest with themselves. That's the number one thing. If you truly know if you're building this to gain and build a business or, build a platform and the audience to sell a product, or to, you're in a rabbit hole. And that's it. Over time, that should have a major impact on productivity. And especially if you just look at the stat of the 4 hours again,
Yes.
It's if you count
Well, it's
that
an addiction,
and
right?
multiply
I mean,
that,
if it's at that level and it's not serving some sort of purpose, you know, that's actually, let me rather put it this way, some sort of productive purpose, right? It's an addiction. And obviously, I mean, everybody is aware of the fact that I don't think there's any addiction that's really good for you. You know, and over a long period of time, that's really going to put you, well, most probably going to put you in a bad space. So I think this is a big deal, and I don't think people are actually attending to this enough, discussing this enough. And I'll tell you this: we've talked about this, you know, a lot, and that is this whole challenge of regret. You know, people going through life, and then they reach certain stages in their life, whether it be midlife crisis, older than 40, older than 50, whatever the case may be, but they've got a lot of regret, right? And ultimately, this is something that can really put you into that position of regret, because here's the thing, it steals your time to actually go after your dreams, you know?
you become unproductive. So
Well, exactly.
and obviously, you know that. Nobody's bullshitting themselves to say, yes, this was a lack of time on social media.
Exactly.
And yes, I did good now for myself. So the thing is to be honest with yourself there and to really understand the consequences there.
Yes.
And that's what we spoke about a lot, is about getting vision, is to drive, you know, to get that in place so that you can start, you know, apply the rule of eliminations into this. How can I say, if you obviously know that you're spending a hell of a lot of time on social media. But the thing is, there's a lot of other stats as well about people falling into depression. So the more you expose yourself towards this, let's say, rat race, towards everybody showing, and this is not, I don't think anybody are fooled by people's lives, and that they're only portraying the best. And that
most do, right?
It's not. Well, it's proven. It's the best the best is shown on social media.
Exactly.
The actual hard facts is not shown.
Exactly.
So the thing there is that if you're constantly exposed to that, and if you're the one that sits 3 hours a day scrolling, and the app, well, I think Android and Apple's got good stats on that to show you your screen time, and to maybe dig into that to go. Listen, I think some people avoid and don't want to go into that stat because they'll be shocked to how many times they actually spend on social media.
Well, they'll need to confront themselves, right?
But there's a lot of stats proven that people fall into depression. Youngsters fall into depression because of, you know, and there's a lot of different factors, obviously, because things get exposed. Obviously, if you were in one school and something happened and they exposed you at the school, it was that school. In today's age, if something's exposed, it's most probably all your friends and all your followers across the schools or the country or wherever you are, the state that you are in, that news travel obviously way faster, so it's got a consequence there. So I understand that side. But the thing is, people are drawn towards their purpose and they want to get there, no matter how you want to look at it. People want to get to their purpose. So when you look at social media, it's just portraying the front of the good side of everybody. So you can quickly fall into a pit to see, yeah, but all these people are getting there so quickly. I'm struggling.
Yes.
If people start being honest with themselves, and influencers, we dealt with a lot of influencers. It's not easy. It's not all the moon, you know,
I agree.
Everything's gold trimmings and all these things. It's not that easy.
The thing is, I think that a big problem, and I think that's what you're alluding to, right, is that people fall into that comparison trap. And the thing is, they actually stay there.
But sometimes they don't even realize that, Stefan.
Well, that's the thing, right?
So
because,
they go into that trap, but they don't realize this thing is making them negative over time.
Exactly.
Because they keep on exposing this. That's why a bad company corrupts good models. A lot of people say, and I think it's Tony Penna that says, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Yes.
The thing is, that principle it holds. So
Exactly.
if you're constantly exposing yourself to people that compare themselves, people that showing this bright side of life,
yes,
and you not having this constantly, because this is the only life you see from other people, and that maybe for instance, this is your role model, and you want to get like them, or you want to build a business like this. Now you follow them on or social media, and now you only see the good side. You don't see the struggles. You don't see the the hard yards that this oak walked.
Yes.
He only portrays and motivates the good side of what he did, and not to say that's bad. That's that.
The thing is, there is a motivational component to it, right?
Yeah.
But I think for me, it makes me think about the proverb that yes, I hope it's a proverb. I'm convinced it's a proverb. That says that hope deferred makes the heart sick. And if you're constantly looking at this hope that is almost unattainable, unreachable in a sense, and you are deceived to the extent that you think this is motivating you, but the reality is you just constantly deferring this hope. So at some point you're going to get there, at some point you're going to get there. After enough time, it makes the heart sick, right? Referencing depression or a depressive state. So I think a key question to ask is, if it's really motivation, if you're looking at content from a motivational perspective, is it actually driving you towards action? Are you actually doing something to get there? And here's the thing, and we've mentioned this in previous episodes, is it can't just lead you or motivate you to do one thing. It takes a real effort to actually live your dreams.
Motivation lasts only for like a short period of time.
Like an instance, right?
So motivation will just get you pumped.
Exactly.
But it's to apply something diligently and to make a decision to do something diligently over time.
Yes.
That really, and that's why a vision is so important, because you need to have something that you hold on to.
Yes.
And then you cannot fall into a pit.
Yes.
To be negative the whole time.
Yes.
There must be small wins, and you need to drive for that. Why diligence is so important for that. And the thing is, for me, is people need to understand that the human loves habits.
Exactly.
We spoke about this on our previous podcast and episode. Is the human love habits. That's why somebody that doesn't train, it's hard for them to start training.
Exactly.
That first breaking the habit is the hardest.
Yes, and maintaining the discipline, right?
Again, the principle holds true towards being in a habit of scrolling, being on social media. It needs to be broken. You need to break that habit. And that's the hard part. And the human will always fall into, that's why creating good habits is key to, So I think that's super important. And that's maybe we didn't want to have a super long a podcast today. We want to get to, straight to the point.
And driving awareness on this, because it's actually eroding.
This was shocking for us to see, is that South Africa, I was shocked.
I agree.
To see we the top, our economy are not that big. We want to get out of, the situation that our country are in. But
here we're sitting with a 40% latency. I think for me, and that's, or maybe where we wanted to get to, right, is I think we're sick and tired of seeing people not really running after their dreams. And again, I don't think we're oblivious to the fact that it isn't that easy for everybody, or for people in general. But that doesn't negate, I think, the fact that it's still worth going after it. And here's a 20, 30, 40% opportunity in every person's day to say, listen, let me rather use this to start actually chasing my dreams and my vision and give myself a real shot at living the life that I'm called to live, as opposed to wasting it away on entertainment. And I think that's a big deal. So
I
think we've made the point, and I think we'd love to hear your comments on this. I think this is actually a real issue that we could dig into a bit deeper in future episodes as well. But I hope that this brought some value and brought some awareness, of this issue. 100%. So thank you guys.
Thanks. Like and subscribe and comment. Do the comments in the comment section. And
indeed.
Obviously, thanks guys. Cheers.
Cheers.